Today, I'm going to show you the exact things that I do to make my Instagram templates look premium, elevated, and nothing like everybody else's. So before we dive in, hi, I'm Rosie, a UK-based designer with 15 years of experience, a previous anthropology partner, brand designer, and template seller on Etsy. So I've done all of the things. Nowadays, I create beautiful PLR templates for my members inside the Timeless Brand Society so that they can start to build a beautiful digital product business without having to start from scratch. So for this video, I'm going to be showing you an example of the kind of work I create for my members. And this example is the Rococo style Instagram post pack that I recently gave to my members to resell. So not only that, I'm going to be showing you the thinking behind the design. So the font choices, the color palette choices, the design choices that take a design from looking good and lovely to looking really expensive and to make it look really wow, so that it really stands out. So if you are looking to learn how to design really elevated designs, whether it's for your own business use or whether it's designs that you're looking to sell, then this video is for you, and let's get into it. Okay, so if I just show you the templates, so you know the kinds of templates that I create, and you can get an idea of the kind of creativity that I like to showcase in my designs. So these are Instagram templates. And one of my members asked me if I could create some Instagram templates with a Rococo theme. So what I did was, for this post pack, I wanted to create some designs that were really out there and really, really super creative, super colourful. And also I wanted to create some templates that were more simple so that they can pick and choose the ones that work for them. Some of my members love really, out there, beautiful, colourful, always timeless and elegant, but, really sort of wow kinds of designs. So I did create some posts like that. So like this one, for instance, this one is really vibrant. There's lots of clip art. There's lots of different, design elements going on. But I have kept the text really simple for this one. And then we have some more sort of muted styles. So they've got softer backgrounds and, a really sort of delicate layout. So these would work better for people that don't really want to use a ton of colour in their Instagram feed. When I'm designing something, I try to make sure that there's something for everybody. So not everybody wants lots of colour in their feed. They might have a more muted style. So there's simple designs as well, simple text-based designs, and then we have the more vibrant designs as well. So if I just go through and show you all the different posts, this has a video in it, and I also created some reels as well as part of this pack too. So if I just go through quickly, this one's really vibrant, and this one's really lovely as a reel as well, because all of the clip art elements come together, which I'll show you. So we've got lots with my designs, with my Instagram post packs, there's lots of different types of layouts and different types of designs. I try not to make things that look the same as the past Instagram post pack that I created for them. So I like to keep it really creative, but always bearing in mind that everybody has different needs. So if I show you the reels as well, so if I go forward to the reels, and some of my members have been using these reels as well and creating some really beautiful content for their Instagram. So I created these animated images of these ladies, of these people as well. This one, I love this one. This one's really fun. And then I've got some moving videos here as well, and I use the image to video tool in Canva to do those. This is the breathe animation, and this is stomp. To create designs like this, the first thing you want to do, so step one, is start with creative direction, not looking at templates. I didn't look at what other people have created in terms of Instagram post templates. I looked for inspiration in different places. So what this does is it really helps you to find inspiration outside of what everyone else is doing, and it will get you on in the right foundations to create something that isn't like everybody else's. So this is the sort of things that help your designs to stand out from the rest. So I looked for inspiration on Pinterest. I looked at different websites that maybe had a Rococo style theme. I looked at old, historical Rococo style art and inspirations from the past. And I used that inspiration. And when you start looking at these kinds of different places for inspiration for your designs, you'll start to get little flashes of insight that come into your mind as you're looking at all of these different things. And this is something that you can develop over time. So the more you start to find inspiration in different places, it starts your brain thinking about your own ideas, and you start to get these little pops of inspiration that come to you. So you might start getting ideas for layouts or color palettes, or a particular sort of configuration of different elements to add to your designs. These kinds of ideas can only come through to you, and authentic inspiration ideas, if you're not looking at what everyone else has already created in that particular niche, in that particular design style. So you can also get ideas for inspiration from nature, from textiles, from home decor, and also, like I say, from your own creative insights. So the second thing that you want to do is build a cohesive colour palette. So the first thing, I do it in 2 stages. The first thing I'll do is I will pick 3 colours for the backgrounds of the designs. So if I show you the grid layout for this design, you'll see that I have got some background colours that are more prominent. So I've got 3 main background colours. I've got this colour here, a very pale cream, and I have also got a very light minty colour, which is this one here. And I have also got a darker colour, a darker beige colour. So these colours, I created a colour palette in Coolors. So Coolors, if I show you. So Coolors is my favourite colour palette creation tool, and it's free to use. So I go up to Tools in the top right corner, go to Palette Generator, and then what I will do is I will look at the designs, the design inspiration. So normally I will create a Pinterest board where I collate all of the different pieces of inspiration that I have found. And I looked at the colours that were coming through. Now, when it comes to Instagram post packs, I do like to have a few very soft colours in the backgrounds, and then sometimes I'll have a darker colour to add a little bit of contrast, and it depends on the design. So sometimes I will just have softer colours in the background, and then I will use images or photographs to cover the whole background sometimes to add that contrast, and then other times I will have a dark colour in the background to add the contrast. So you don't always just want to have the same colour in the background on all of your Instagram posts. You want to have variation. So for this pack, I wanted to have 3 really lovely soft colours, but in different sort of tones. And what I did was I would just click on the space bar in the colour palette generator, and then I'd wait until a colour would come up that would suit the style that I'm looking for. So in that case, I had a very soft pale cream colour that I wanted to have. So I've just found a colour, I think it was like an orangey colour, and I've just clicked on it and I've looked at the lightest tone, and this is a very similar colour to what I chose. So what I'll do is I'll lock that, and then what I'll do is I'll press the space bar and see if I can find the minty colour. So I wanted a soft minty colour, and then I will check, and there's a minty colour here. If you make it lighter, if you go up through the shade, you'll get to the lighter shade. And I think it was this kind of shade. These aren't the exact shades, but I'm just showing you how I do it. And then I also wanted a more sort of neutral beigey kind of colour as well. So if I click through, And usually that will be a brown, but with a lighter tone. Orange. This one might do. So if we go for the lighter shades of this brown here, it's kind of similar to this sort of colour. So that's what I do. And then I'll find 3 shades, and that's enough, because when you're creating Instagram posts, you do tend to use quite a lot of photography in your posts. So if this is a design that you're looking to resell, it's perfectly okay to create a completely different colour palette to your brand colours. If this is a design that you are creating for yourself to use personally for your own Instagram, then you'll want to stick to your own brand colours. So this is the tool that you'll use if you're creating designs to sell. So then what I do is I like to have five to 6 colours, sometimes more, as the palette for my Instagram post packs. And if I show you here, on the first page, I have the colour palette. So these are the colours that I chose to begin with. The very, very soft light cream, and then the light minty colour, and then also the beigey colour. So then what I do is, because I know that I am going to be using lots of colourful graphics, lots of colourful backgrounds, I then allow, as I start to design it, I allow those colours to kind of appear for me. Because when I start to add the graphics and add the images, the colours will start, and then those will become the other main colours in the palette. So then we had a darker green, we had a very deep brown, which was made from the beigey colour that I'd already chosen, and we had a darker shade of the pink. So it's nice to have a little bit of variation, but I haven't used lots of completely unique colours. I think there's actually only 4. So we've got this beige colour and this brown. They're just different shades of the same colour. The same with the greens, they're just different shades of the same colour, and the same with the pink. So there's really only 3 main colours in this particular design. So you don't want to have too many completely different colours going on. You can expand your colour palette by just having 3 main colours and then creating different shades of those colours. And that's what's going to make your designs look really lovely and cohesive, because you're not using tons and tons of different colours. So that's how I create the colour palette. So step 3, you want to create a font family for your Instagram post pack, and you want to use them as a family, not a free-for-all. So what I mean by that is, you want the fonts that you choose to, first of all, align to the design style that you're looking to create. So in this instance, it's an old world themed but slightly playful Instagram post pack. So I have chosen fonts that align to that theme. So what you want to do with your fonts is you want to see them like a family. So you want them to pair together well and support each other. So I have got some lovely old world style fonts for this particular post pack, but I've specifically chosen the fonts so that they work well together, so that one doesn't overtake the other. So they look like they belong in the same family. So for this case, I have got Cormorant as the header font. So the header font needs to have lots of personality. It needs to be fairly bold, but obviously depending on the design style that you're creating, you know, it all depends how bold you want it to be. This isn't a particularly bold font, but because I've got it capitalized here, it looks bolder and it looks like a header. So I've also got a decorative font, which is going to be like a support actor. And I've also got a body font as well, which is a support actor. So the body font is actually the same font as the header font. So if I show you, so this is a area of body text. So when I say body text is paragraph style text. Anywhere where you're going to have more text, that will be your chosen body font, and the body font needs to be lovely and readable. So you want it to be lovely and clear. It doesn't have to be super simple, but it does need to be lovely and easy to read. So that's the body font. So as you can see, it's the same font as the header. So they're both Cormorant, but I've used them slightly differently. So for the header, I have added a little bit of spacing, and I've made it capitalized. And for the body font, I've kept it lowercase and with less spacing between the letters, because if you have a lot of spacing between the letters in an area where there's a lot of text, it's going to make it hard to read. So for your body font, you want to keep the spacing much smaller. So I've only got a touch of spacing. And then for the header text, you can have bigger spacing because it's a smaller area of text. It's usually only one line at the most. So you can have more gaps between the letters for your header text. So when we look at the font family, we want to have your main star actor, which is the header text. So you use this for your titles. And then we have the support actor, which is a decorative font. So I've gone for a lovely calligraphy style font, but that has a lovely playful feel to it. It's still elegant, but slightly playful to match the theme of the Instagram post pack. And I've also got the body text, which is the same as the header. And the body text is also a support act. And to find your fonts, what you want to do is be looking at the inspiration that you gathered earlier in the creative direction stage, and looking at the types of fonts that appear when you're looking at that design inspiration. So, and then go through Canva. And what I like to do is I just search through the fonts. So I have an idea that I will probably want to use a serif font, which is a more traditional style font. So I just look through all of the fonts and then I will type out a bit of text and then go through the fonts. So this font could have worked quite nicely as well. Noto serif, that could have worked. And then I'll just go through and look at how it looks. And then I'll also, if I have already chosen my body font and maybe a decorative font, I'll see how it pairs with those as well. So always try to look at it as a family. So step number 4, you want to source and curate imagery with real intentions. So the images that you use in your designs are really going to have a huge impact on how your design is perceived and how your design makes people feel. So you want to be choosing images that really align to the theme that you're looking to create. And you also want to be looking for imagery that's really elevated. So you don't want to just be looking through, say, for instance, we've got Canva's library. And in Canva's image library, it's quite limited on the elegant style images that you can use in your design. So I tend to create my own images in Midjourney because I can really fine tune how those images turn out. I can also add the colors from the color palette to the prompts so that I can create images that really are going to align to the color palette and the theme of the design. So when you're choosing your images, you really want to be thinking, how can I make it more elevated? So instead of just, finding some images and thinking, oh, they'll do, they're quite nice, the images are really going to elevate your design or downgrade your design. So you've gone through all of the effort of choosing beautiful colors, choosing your fonts, doing all the sort of research beforehand. And then if you go and plonk some images and graphics in your design that aren't at that same level, then it's going to bring the whole design down. And your images also create so much personality in your design. If you want your designs to look expensive and premium, you're going to need to choose images or create your own images that also exude premium and expensive. So if I show you in Midjourney, to create the Rococo style images, what I did was, if I search Rococo, so most people, when they are thinking of backgrounds and they want to have, maybe a darker background, they'll just add a darker color to that post. But what I like to do is I like to use images as backgrounds and overlay really beautiful text in a lighter color with probably a drop shadow or a glow shadow behind it so it pops, and I'll use an image as a background. I also created some animations too to use in the designs, because during the creative direction stage, I was thinking, how can I make these really wow? And then I realized that if I add some images, maybe if I animate some of the images I've created in Midjourney, maybe I could use those as well. So it's thinking outside the box. And then if I show you the prompt, so if I start at the beginning, we go back, and then I like to create a lot of different graphic elements. So we want graphic elements are things like ornaments, clip art, borders, things like that that you can use in your design. I also like to create the images that I mentioned earlier for the backgrounds. To create the prompts to create imagery that's going to align with your design, with the theme of your design, you want to be, if I go back to the start, so I have written Rococo style clip art, realistic watercolor, Rococo era, sorry, that's meant to be era sofa, isolated on a white background, soft light pastels, pink, baby blues, teal, soft muted tones. Now, normally what I would also do is I would add the hex codes of the color palette as well. So the original colors that I found, so we've got the very light cream, we've got the beige, and we've got the mint color. I would add the hex code. So I would grab the hex codes and then I would paste it into the prompt. So at the end, so I write down in the prompt the colors. So I've written light pastels, pinks, baby blues, soft teals, muted tones, and then I'll also add those hex codes as well with a comma between each of them. So it will help to create imagery that aligns to the palette that you've created. Now, for some reason, I didn't do that this time. I'm not quite sure why. But yeah, that's what you really want to be doing, because then you're going to ensure that you get the right colors coming through in your images. So the first thing that I do is I put the style of the clip art that I want to create. And then I've got realistic watercolor illustrations. So for me, when it comes to graphics, clip art graphics, I don't like them to look cartoony. I don't want them to look too playful. I want them to look like natural. Clip art looks more realistic. It will just look more elevated and more elegant than the kinds of clip art that looks more sort of childish and fun and quirky. So that's one thing to bear in mind. So so Rococo style clip art, realistic watercolor illustration. You could also type in there in the style of naturalistic renderings, and that will also help to create clip art that looks really beautiful and realistic, not necessarily realistic, but realistic in an illustrated form. You know, you don't want it to look too quirky or too fun or too cheerful. If you want the expensive look. And then I've put I've put of a Rococo era sofa. So this is for these ones, isolated on a white background. So if you're creating clip art, you want to have a white background so that you can easily remove that background later. And then I have put soft light pastels, pink, baby blues, soft teals, soft muted tones, and then I will usually add in my hex codes as well. So that's how I format the prompt. And then what I'll do is every time I will just use the same prompt, but I will change it. So then hold on a minute. So then I'll change it to heron instead of sofa. So it's really quick and really easy to keep generating new clip art images. Step number 5, you want to be adding texture to create depth. I find that the very simple thing that you can do to your post designs to help them feel really elevated and really beautiful is add textures in the backgrounds. So if I show you, most of my designs have some kind of a texture, like this one, for instance, here. I have added a paper texture to this design. I have got my soft muted tone in the background. I have overlaid a paper texture and I have reduced the transparency down. So if I show you the paper texture when it's on full opacity, It's a very kind of bumpy, it's not very ethereal feeling, it's not very elegant feeling. I mean, it's okay, but it doesn't just got the full image of the paper texture, and the background color isn't showing through. So what you want to do is reduce the transparency down so that you can still kind of see the texture, but you can still see the color, the background color coming through. So this is really important because you want your colors to remain consistent. And what can happen is people will add a texture and it might look nice, but if it doesn't have that same color coming through, then it's not going to match all of the other templates in the pack. So you really want to be using your textures carefully and applying that transparency to your textures. So I love to use paper textures. They're one of my favorites, but I don't like to use too many different textures per sort of design that I create. So I'll use usually one or two textures, and then I'll also intersperse some designs in the pack with full cover images. So like this one, we have got the image in the background that's been pulled right out. We also have a little slight layer over the top. So we have again got this same texture, but it's been reduced right down. So instead of having this full color image in the background, we have got this lovely sort of veil of a texture coming over it, and that helps to create that depth as well. So you want to be playing around with using images in the background and then adding a sort of semi-transparent layer over the top, because that can also help you to use images with lots of color but without them being too much if you add that lovely layer in the background as well. So I love to add texture. And as you can see, I've used the same one throughout. And on this one as well, I have added a texture. So if we go a bit closer, we have got a texture here, and then we've also got this texture going over the top as well. So it's added lots of lovely dimension. So got a texture here in the background too. And if you want me to create any videos where I show you exactly how I create one particular design in here, then let me know. So say you want to learn how to design this, let me know, and I will create some little tutorials as well for those too. So step number 6 is you want to be adding dimension with shadows and layers. So in my Instagram post designs particularly, I love to add dimension and that lovely 3D feel that flat designs just can't emulate. So when it comes to, creating designs that stand out and feel like people want to be drawn into, you want to be adding dimension to it. So by using shadows and layering, you're going to elevate a design from looking, average, okay, to really beautiful and really stand out, because flat designs just cannot create that same level of interest that designs with dimension have. So I don't add shadows and layering to every single one of the posts in a template pack, but I do like to add it to quite a few of them to create that lovely contrast. And when you're looking at an Instagram feed, it's lovely to have some posts that have a bit of dimension added with shadows and some simpler sort of flat posts. Most of my posts aren't flat at all because they usually have some kind of layer in the background, like I showed you just now. But sometimes you just want to add that little bit more dimension. So for this one, for instance, I have used layering. So I have got my background layer, which is a full cover image. And then I have got another layer over the top, which is this image of this lady with the background removed. And I've also added a shadow to this as well. I love to use the drop shadow. And for this lady here, I used blur amount 20, angle 62, distance 50, the color is black, and the intensity is 50. So I've also got more layering here. So I've got my text element, and I've also added a shadow as well. This time I've used the glow effect and I've got it on 100% intensity. And the same with this here, because in order for this to stand out against this bold background, I needed to add shadow behind it so that it pops. So adding shadows and layering to your designs, it really helps them to pop. And the same with this here. These elements here don't have a shadow on them, but they are overlaid on top of this lovely paper effect in the background as well. So we've got lots of layering going on. We've also got this oval shape here with, again, shadow in the background. So it just really sort of helps it to draw the viewer in, and it just feels more real and more tangible, and it really helps your designs to stand out. So when it comes to the actual designing of each of these posts, I tend to just allow myself to flow through the process. Now, if you are new to designing Instagram posts, what you can do is you can go to the template section up here. So once you've created your design, these posts are in the Instagram post portrait size. So it's 1080 by 1350, which is the 4:5 ratio. So what I like to do is usually I do come up with ideas for layouts because I've created so many Instagram post packs over time. I'm quite used to doing that. But if you're new to creating Instagram posts, what you can do is you can go to the template section and you can search Instagram post. I always like to put elegant, and you will find tons of inspiration for layout designs. So this is what you can do. Now, if you are creating designs to resell, you probably want to use only free template designs, because if you're using the pro ones, that might have elements that the person that buys it from you may not be able to use because they may only have a free Canva account. So I tend to stick to free elements, free fonts, free template design. Most of my imagery and clip art I create myself, so that's absolutely fine. I can use that and not worry about using that. You can have a look through the templates, and if it is a pro Canva template, you can just use the idea and create your own version. Don't actually just use the design. So don't add it to your design, but you can just use it as inspiration. So you can have a look, choose one that you like, and then redesign that, and it will give you tons of ideas for layout. If you're a beginner, definitely make the most of the Canva templates. There's actually some really nice free ones as well that you could use. But when you're doing your layout, you want to make sure that everything has its place. So when you are using lots of elements, like this one has got quite a lot going on. We have got these frame elements that I created. It's also got lovely images inside the frames as well that I've added a frame behind, and now I've put this clip art element over the top. And it's also got the decorative font that's acting as a header font, and it's also got the header font below and a paragraph text piece at the bottom as well. So there's a lot going on. So when you are designing a layout for an Instagram post, you really want to be looking at white space. You want to be making sure that there's plenty of space around each of the elements and that they're all working together as a family. So same as when I mentioned about the font family, you want your fonts to work as a family. You also want, when you're designing a post, you want all of the elements to work together as a family as well. So be aware of spacing, be aware of allowing each piece to have its own part in the design. So this is the main part. And then we've also got this one, which is kind of second main part. So it's a little bit smaller. It's not as bold. And then these two areas of text are like support actors or like extras. They're just there to sort of help out. So when you're designing a post, you want to have 1 to 2 main stars of the post. So this graphic area here is a main star. And then we've got this one as well, which is a slightly less important main star as well. So there's a hierarchy. So, you don't want to have, if I show you an example, you don't want to have this one really big and then this one really big and then this one really big, because it's not going to look very nice. So you really want to sort of, make sure there's plenty of white space. So we've got empty space around. Everywhere has its own little space to move. You just want to make sure that, the elements aren't competing with each other. Every element has its space, and also try to make sure that you use plenty of white space. Now, when you're designing something that has a lot more going on, I mean, that other one had quite a bit going on. This has got a lot going on because there's lots and lots of different bits of clip art that I've added to this design. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that when you are creating a more vibrant design for a post, you want to make sure that the text has got a way of standing out. So what I've done is I have added this shape in the background. So if I just position it forward, so it's just a shape that I found in the Canvas Shapes library, and I've layered that in the background. So if I just go back, I think that's it. So now I've layered it in the background so that the text can easily stand out. I've also ensured that there's plenty of white space again around the text elements. I've also played around with different colours as well, because, sometimes you might want to change colours of certain areas of the text in order to help it align with the clip art. So if you're designing something with lots of clip art, you might want to add some of the colour from the clip art into the text area of the design as well. So it all works together as a family. So, always ensure that whenever you are, creating a design with quite a bit of text, so this is, quite a bit of different text areas going on here. You want to make sure that it's got room to breathe and it can stand out despite all of this going on around it. So that's really important too. Again, with this one, I've added lots of white space. I have added clip art as well, but because I want the text to really stand out, I've ensured that the clip art is used minimally, much smaller, and sort of spaced out really nicely as well, with lots of white space around it so that you can easily focus on the text. So when you're looking at your pack, you really want to be assessing it as you're designing it. You want to be assessing it and thinking, do I need more simpler posts to balance things out? Do I need more vibrant, bold, posts with maybe an image in the background to add that contrast? When you're designing an Instagram post pack, you want to imagine that you're the user of that pack and that you're going to use that pack for your entire Instagram feed. And when you look at an Instagram feed, you'll see that there's usually, some posts that are very simple with lots of white space. Some posts are an image. Some posts have, clip art going on. You want to have that balance between those three different types of post designs so that whoever you're selling your design to will be able to actually use them in their grid without having to change them too much. So step number 7 is you want to review your design with fresh eyes. So once you have created your post pack, what I love to do is I love to have a look at it again the next day in the morning after a sleep and with fresh eyes. So what can happen is you can design your Instagram posts, think they look really wonderful because you've been in the flow and you've been really enjoying the process if you're anything like me. And then in the morning, if you look at them again, you might see, oh, hold on a minute, I think I need to add more to this post. I think I need to take away something from this one. I think I want to add more simple posts or more bold posts. Just review it with fresh eyes. And this is if you want your designs to go from average or nice to really exceptional, you want to be reviewing your design as you go through it. So I usually review the whole design probably 4 or 5 times through the whole process of designing them. So this might seem a bit crazy, but I think this constant reviewing and asking myself, is this good enough, is what helps me to create designs that stand out. So if you're not reviewing it and thinking, can I make it better? Can I make it more inspiring, more creative, more beautiful? Then you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not asking yourself that question, because asking yourself that question is going to help build that muscle of really thinking about your designs and really pushing yourself that little bit further to create something that's really exceptional. When you create something that's really beautiful and really different and really unique, it will sell, because people are desperate for good design. They are desperate for designs that stand out, that look more beautiful, more refined, more elegant, because they look more expensive. So putting the extra effort into, really asking yourself, is it good enough? How can I tweak it a little bit more? Obviously, you don't want to spend weeks and weeks on this. Sometimes it's a case of taking away. Sometimes it's a case that you've maybe added too many graphic elements and it looks a bit too much. So try to get into that habit of, really looking at it again with fresh eyes the next day before you list it or before you share it with anyone. And then just ask yourself, is it good enough? So my last tip, number 9, is be aware of trends, but don't chase them. So when it comes to trends, I do love, there's a current trend at the moment, which is all about scrapbook design and adding lots of layers and, lots of stickers and cutouts and things like that. It's a style I've always loved. But what you don't want to be doing is you don't want to be using that trend throughout your whole Instagram post pack. So you might want to use little pieces of that trend and use it in your own way, or in a way that aligns to the particular style of the design that you're creating. But you don't want to make the whole Instagram post pack trendy. So you don't want to be using, all the trends all at once. You just maybe want to take a little bit of a current trend that everybody loves, because obviously adding a little bit of a trend is going to help your design sell if that's a style that's trending. But you don't want to be overusing it, and you want to use it really sympathetically to the design that you're creating and the feel that you want your design to have. So in this post pack, for instance, I really love the kind of collagey theme, the collagey trend. If I show you here, adding collages, adding layers, adding clip art, cutouts and things are really popular at the moment. But I created this particular collage in a sympathetic way, in an elevated, elegant way that aligns to this Instagram post pack. So you can use trends in your design, but try to elevate that trend. Don't just see what everyone else is doing. A lot of people are using very modern sticker style elements in their carousels, for instance. I would prefer to use more elevated, realistic style clip art instead for my particular, collagey style posts on Instagram, because that's my style and I want it to feel more elevated. So I'm hopping on the trend, but doing it in my own way. So I hope that makes sense. So I hope this video was helpful. I hope it's given you lots of ideas for your own Instagram posts, whether you're looking to sell them or create them for yourself. If you would love to access templates like these, I have lots of lovely templates like these that you can resell, available in the Timeless Brand Society, along with branding courses and branding tools to help you to brand your business so that it also looks premium and elegant, so that you can start your own digital product business with ease and without starting from scratch. So I'd love to see you inside. And if you have any ideas for more YouTube videos that you'd like me to create, please let me know in the comments, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.